Hi, I am Julie of Julie Made It Creative, and today I'm going to show you how to use masking fluid in your watercolor art. I've been working on a series recently of paintings, and this is the one that I did most recently. I used masking fluid to block off these vines right there and the birds, and then I did a couple of paintings with trees and misty forests, and same thing with the trees right here. That is masking fluid. So masking fluid is used to block out areas and preserve some of the white areas on the canvas. That's what I'm going to show you how to do today. And one of the biggest questions I get are about the tools that I use to do it, because I don't use a brush to apply my masking fluid. So I'm going to show you what I'll be using, and every supply that I'm showing you today will be linked in the description in case it's something that you want to try also. Okay, so I've done a sketch of another bird. I enjoy doing birds, so why not? This is a perfect example for what I'm going to do today. This particular paper that I'm using, I usually use two types of paper. One, which is not expensive paper, but it's very good, and it's my favorite non-cotton watercolor paper, is made by Speedball, and it's fluid cold press watercolor paper. I get this off of Amazon. Pretty much get all of my supplies off of Amazon, only because I find it convenient for them to be shipped to me. This is my other very favorite watercolor paper. I actually prefer this over Arches, which is actually pronounced Osh, because it's a little bit smoother. It's not quite as textured, and I like my paper to be cold pressed, but not quite as grainy. So this is the other paper I use, but Speedball is what I'm using today. I'm going to be using this dark blue that I've been making. I've been using Prussian blue, mixing some Viridian in with it, and then I'm typically cooling that down by mixing a little bit of this Mayan Orange by Daniel Smith. So I use Daniel Smith, Winsor Newton, and Holbein. I think it's Holbein. I might be saying that wrong, but these are my favorite of the paints. Okay, so let's get started. So this is the tool that I use, which is like a mess because I clearly use it often, but this is called a ruling pen. They're very inexpensive. I just get this off of Amazon. It's like $7, and this little wheel right here opens and closes this part so that the paint either comes out thicker or thinner, and you can control your lines that way. The reason I prefer this over a brush is because, firstly, I don't ever ruin one of my brushes, and I can get really nice fine lines with this. But you can use brushes, by the way. You just have to put dish soap on them first to protect the brush, and don't use your best brushes for that. But this, I'll show you, this is the kind of masking fluid that I like. Gets these really nice fine lines so that you can do like delicate areas. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get right to it. It usually comes out a little bit thicker at first, but if you use this tool, you can get some really nice fine lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in and block off all these areas that I want to be white. And then when this is 100% dry, this is a really important part of using masking fluid. So you always want the masking fluid to be dry before you apply any kind of paint to it, and you also always want the surface that you're working on to be dry. So if I applied paint to this, for example, and then put masking fluid on top of it to preserve like a different tone of paint or different color, I would need to wait until the paper was dry to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just apply these areas and let it dry, and then we'll pop in with the paint, and I'm going to speed up the video so that you can watch the process. Okay, so this is now completely dry, and I'm going to go ahead and paint it in, and I'll show you how it works. The best part of using masking fluid for me, by far, is, let me show you how I'm mixing color, is the part when you take it off. But I have to tell you, you cannot take it off until it is 100% dry, or it will tear your paper. So the paper that you use when you do this is important, and the timing is also pretty important. But I think you can probably hear my cats in the background. I feel like having cats is like an artist stereotype, and I fit that stereotype, so that's just how it is. So I am using a lot of this Prussian blue color. That's where I'm getting this like really vivid dark blue. This is also, this brush that I'm using is my favorite brush. It's a silver black velvet. They are not cheap, rather, so I don't have very many of them, but it's probably my favorite brush to use of all the brushes that I own. I'm just gonna add some green and mix the colors. I like a little bit of color transition in my paintings. So another thing I'm going to show you is how you can create cool texture with sea salt. I'm actually going to drop it into this bird, and I'll show you if this is something you haven't tried before. It's super fun, and you might want to try it. So let me just paint in this part here. Okay, so as the paint is drying, it isn't soaking wet, but it's getting damp, you can apply salt. And the salt pushes the water away and creates an interesting texture. This is now dry, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the salt first. See all the texture it created. You can use, a lot of times if you buy those rolling pens, it will come with the remover. But I don't really like those things. I either just like to use my finger or just a regular like white eraser. I like white because I don't want it to, if it's a color, it might stain the paper. And there you have it. So there you have it. That is masking fluid and how to use it. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have a topic suggestion for me, or like a Q&A that you, just something that you want to know, you can drop it in the comments, or you can just DM me on Instagram and I will cover it here on this channel.